the Variety Hour on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Listen to you move your mouth. I bet you come from way down south. Now don't tell me, let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good. Talk Memphis, high on the bluff. I swear I can't get enough listening to you talk that stuff. Talk Memphis, oh yeah, talk Memphis.
This is the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. You have found us. I appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. My name is Dean Harris. I'm with CrestCore Realty over on Summer Avenue. Thank you guys for tuning in here at AM 990 Memphis, 107.9 The Voice FM, or you could be streaming the show live at www.kwam990.com. We're also on Facebook Live, guys. Good morning to all of our Facebook listeners or watchers. We post the show after we're completed here every day on the show's Facebook page, so you can go back and re-listen if you missed anything. There's also 50-plus shows on there. I think we're up to about 70 that they've stored on there now. So feel free to go back and take a look and listen at any of the prior shows in case you missed us. They're all posted there. That is the Memphis Real Estate Hour on Facebook. The Memphis Real Estate Hour concentrates on investing in Memphis real estate. We will focus on all those related topics, and I'll discuss local and national investment trends, as well as give you an inside look at what it takes to become an investor here in Memphis or to become a better investor here in Memphis. I remind you guys every single show that I am an investor, so if you have that old home that you want to sell quickly, it's torn up, burnt out, no sheetrock, no floors, doesn't matter. Anything like that, it doesn't matter to us. Shoot me an email at dean@crestcore.com. That's DEAN at CRESTCORE.com. I'll get you a cash offer on that home today. Today's show, we're going to have the investment of the week here at the bottom of the hour in about 25 minutes. I've got three really good properties. I've got a Fraser one, 38111, two Fraser ones, and a 38111. So I'm excited to give those to you, a little bit less expensive homes today that you can get in a little bit cheaper, really good returns. So I'll be happy to give you those at the end of the hour. At the bottom of the hour. You can also go to our brokerage website, www.crestcorerealty.com, and you can check out all of our listings as well as the investments of the week. Last week on the show, Dan, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you? You doing all right?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Where's that mic?
Caught you by surprise.
I know.
Last week we started, rehabbing a property, lipstick on a pig, to turnkey rentals. We gave you some really good information on mistakes we'd made and different things you do to a house as far as levels of rehab, whether you're just going to come in and broom sweep it and literally put lipstick on a pig, or if you're going to go in and kind of dive deep into the rehab and into the property. So today we're going to have part two of that. We're going to talk about top 5 rehab mistakes. We'll get into our turnkey alternative program that we've got at CrestCore. It's essentially the BRRRR strategy that you guys have seen and probably read about on Bigger Pockets. But I wanted to ask you, Dan, before we get into this, you went to a conference this past week.
Bill do?
Yeah.
AT&T call?
Collectors, yeah. They know I'm on the air right now.
That's right.
It was called the Real Investor Roundtable.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that. I know you're excited this morning about it, but tell me a little bit what you learned and what you guys saw.
Well, it just, it was huge. We had investors from all over the country. They come in. We do it 3 times a year. And just guys that are doing big stuff, started just like us, one at a time, and just doing everything from, wholesaling 30 houses a month to fix and flip 30 houses a month to owning 1,000+ houses to, just all the gamut. You could, it was really eye-opening to see, like, you just need to pick a strategy and get after it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what
it was
I
very
love
inspiring. Like, just get after it. Just pick one. Pick a lane.
So many different options that you can go.
Yeah, I mean, every one of them was different. Mm-hmm. But in the sense, the common denominator was a piece of real estate. Mm-hmm. But some of the key takeaways to me was just build to rent is going to continue to be a big deal, because there is no more housing. The guy from the Fed came and talked to us. Interest rates are low.
Yeah.
They're going to creep up, but his point was they got to keep creeping up because they got to have a. This was an interesting thing for me to understand. Like, they've got to keep creeping them up so that if inflation does happen and some issues does happen in the economy, they have a lever to adjust. Now, if you keep the interest rate so low and some big happens in the economy, you can't go any lower. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just giving money away for free.
Yeah.
And you can't live off that. So, unemployment was the lowest it's been in maybe ever. It's super low, and then you got all these people retiring. And so it was just the dynamics of it. Maybe I'll try to summarize that into a show, just the macro level of what's going on in the nation. It's just.
So the people that were there, they were for the build to rent?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you.
Because there's no more housing. And so, that was the big thing, was like, because of the way the world or the U.S. and everything else is working, like, there's more and more people that don't want to own anymore. And so every city, they were showing year-over-year changes, and pretty much every city was going down in home ownership. That makes sense on a percentage. We already know Memphis is low, but other markets throughout the country are going lower as well. So,
man, that build-to-rent model makes me nervous.
Yeah, I mean,
for an investor, it doesn't for me because I'm not buying it, but it does make me nervous for an investor for long term.
Yeah,
I mean, the short term, flashy and sounds good.
Well, that was one of the guys that spoke. He's done hundreds of them, and his big thing was controlling the HOA.
That would be that's my concern.
Your concern, which hits it head on. They try to own that HOA, be the biggest, basically be the president of the HOA, or own the HOA, or create the HOA. See what I'm saying? Like,
now,
that's a way to make things taken care of from a,
because that's my fear. 5 years down the road, you've got tenants,
a landmine of just trash
turning over, and people not really caring,
yards that are messed up, and I mean, that's. For sure. So anyway, it just can't, I always come back all fired up just because you realize the sky's the limit of what you want to take your business to, but you just got to pick a lane and get after it.
Yeah.
Don't try to be all things, all people, which we preach that on the show all the time. Just that one focus.
You and Douglas stay out late partying and stuff?
No, man. Man.
You said it was a little draining, right? The hours that you put into it?
Yeah, 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. just meeting and talking and strategizing and challenging each other. And I met one of my friends that got to go really good. He bought Farrah Fawcett's old house in Tucson. That was pretty cool. 5 acre, 3 houses. And he was talking about that whole, debacle.
Yeah, Can't imagine. All right, well, that's good. It sounds like you had a great time. Real Investor Roundtable. So you guys, I'm sure you could go online and check it out. Is there some kind of website you can go to?
There's stuff, LinkedIn and stuff like that. Yeah, but
Real Investor Roundtable. You guys be sure to check that out. So. Let's dive in today, part 2 of our, rehabbing a property, lipstick on a pig, to turnkey rentals, and let's talk about some of the rehab mistakes, and then we'll get into the turnkey alternative program, which we're running right now. And as a matter of fact, it's weird. We'll get to it, but that turnkey alternative program, which is essentially our BRRRR strategy, or Bigger Pockets BRRRR strategy, is it's coming back. We're finding more properties for it. We went on a dry spell.
Well, it's because of the gap of turnkey can't buy it, and that they talked a lot about that too this weekend. Like, you can't do a turnkey and be at the 1% rule. I say you can't.
It's tough.
Much, much, much harder unless you're going to zig into a neighborhood that you're going to carry somebody in the neighborhood they probably shouldn't be in. That's where our turnkey alternative comes back around.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to a guy last night and was just in
back.
love with that concept and wanted to dive in.
We've got several under contract right now, so they're, I went on a streak where it was hard to find. We really couldn't find it to do ourselves, meaning the BRRRR strategy or turnkey alternative. But
isn't it funny how it goes in waves? I mean, you became a listing specialist.
It's amazing,
and now BRRRR's coming back again.
It's coming back, so I imagine we'll shift back to some of these buyers. So let's talk about, as we dive into these rehabs on these, vetting your contractor is one of, if not the most important thing to do before you get started. We've done this before. We've mentioned some of this on the radio before, but you've got stories after stories. But
man, how many days you got? How many weeks?
How long will George let us sit here?
That's right. We'll be here the rest of the afternoon.
So you've suggested getting 3 and maybe taking the middle guy. That's pretty typical, but Talk about some of the things that, when we say vetting your contractor, what all does that include?
It starts with, I would start at the top. Do they have a business license? Do they actually have a legitimate business? Do they have, a GC license, or, if you're, working with plumbing, or do they have a plumbing license? That's
something not out of the back of their truck.
Yeah, I mean, we joke chucking a truck because it rhymes, but are you dealing with chucking a truck, or are you dealing with somebody that can take care of you and has some backing behind you? Do they have workers' comp and GL? General liability. Sorry for those.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
He's like, "What's GL?"
Tell us what that is.
Yeah, what was that you learned last show? That was, man, I wish. Yeah, and anyway, it'll come to me. It was eye opening. You're like, "What is that?"
The hook or Q. Oh man.
Okay.
It was with plumbing, and it was under the sink.
Oh, the P-trap.
The P-trap.
Yeah, like the hook.
Dang,
Look
bro.
at you, you've been doing this.
Yeah.
Like, what's that little thing that does this?
The little P-trap. I don't know what that
traps
was.
gases.
I definitely needed an
yeah.
explanation after you said P-trap.
Can they pull for your bigger jobs? Can they pull permits?
Yeah.
How many current jobs do they have right now?
That to me is one.
Because then you got to say, all right, how many jobs do you have? But then how many crews do you have? And you got to start. Then you got to ask some friends the questions. Does that ratio match? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then on that, you got 5 jobs. Are they $2,000 jobs? Or are they $50,000 jobs? Because that's going to matter. Because basically, you got to look at their total outlay of how much money they've got out on the street working as a general contractor, and then which plays into the draw schedule, what you give them, but how many jobs they complete in a week, how long does it take them normally?
Yeah.
I have a standard, what's how many dollars per week of jobs do they complete? Like if a job is $20,000,
How long does it take?
how long does it take? Is that 5,000 a week, 4,000 a week, 2,000 a week? Like my kind of just rule of thumb is, a crew should be able to do at least 5,000 a week of work between materials and the actual labor. They should knock out about 5,000 a week.
I've always thought if you called a subcontractor, whoever it may be, and he could be there in 10 minutes, that was an issue for me. But then if he couldn't be there in 3 weeks, that was also an issue for me, because either he was taking on too much work and was probably hurrying through some stuff. But if he could be there in 10 minutes, maybe he didn't have enough work that he should have.
He's not watching his jobs.
He's not watching his
rolling
jobs.
around town.
Right. He's just rolling around town. So what are,
do they have core values? That's another one for me.
Mm-hmm.
What language do they speak? Can they tell you jobs that they messed up on, and how do they handle it? I'd ask them, when a job went wrong, give them a couple examples of.
Man, that's good right there.
I call that situation, behavior, outcome.
Mm-hmm.
What was the situation that you got yourself in a pickle where, we got one with our buddy Rico, got a rehab.
Yeah.
They put the wrong tile in. Fortunately, he's using a contractor that stands behind their word. They admitted it. Color was not right off the shelf. So they ripped everything out and started over.
Oh, wow.
But, chucking a truck is, what do you think they're going to do? The probability.
In all likelihood, he'll offer you some kind of small discount, but if that doesn't work, he's probably not going to do it.
He's probably not going to do it, or they're going to try to charge you for the full job. Well, I already paid those guys. Well, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
you
right.
scoped out what tile you wanted, so you got to,
That's the chuck
all
in a
this
truck.
stuff we're talking about lines up to, like, when mistakes happen, or when because things are going to happen. Being a GC, there's every day that we're you pop open a wall or a floor, and oh my gosh, we got a much bigger problem, or
how you going to react to it?
how do you react to it? How do you treat that customer service? But I think asking for mistakes, I
really like that. That just pop up right
that just
there.
popped in my head.
But that's
of
correct.
listen to what I wrote. Just asking for mistakes and how they handle it.
Because they've made them.
For sure. And if they say, well, I don't make mistakes.
Okay, run for the hills.
Run for the hills.
Yeah.
Or if they made a mistake, say, well, and then they start blaming everybody else, or do they own it and they tell you how they solved it? I mean, talking out loud, I think that's a huge difference.
It also sets the tone a little bit of how you're going to treat them. In other words, if you talk about a mistake up front before it even happens and they make the mistake, you've
Right.
kind of already laid it out how you're going to handle it. It doesn't really give you a way to get out of it.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? Does that
Yeah.
make sense? how do you handle this mistake? Well, this is what I did. Well, if something happens in your rehab job with them, I imagine that's exactly how they're going to react to it as well. What are some of the biggest mistakes, that you see in contractors, Dan? What are, that's something that's common that we should all be looking for?
Well, they take the money and run, which goes into your draw schedule, which we'll talk about that. How do you pay them? The poor quality, they never finish. That last 10%. And again, meeting some guys that own 1,000+ houses this month or yesterday, it was reaffirming because I had this idea. I don't know if I ever shared it with you. Like, let's stop making the guy do 90% or the last 10%. Mm-hmm. Let's have a guy that we employ go behind him and finish that 10%, but price it accordingly. Make some money. Keep some money in the back end for that. Versus that guy, you want him pushing through getting the 90%. It was just a mind shift change for me. Like, have a solution for that last 10%. You're going to either don't pay them until they finish or keep your thumb on them. Mm-hmm. My biggest advice is don't pay that last. I'd make it more than 10% of the money. I'd make it 20 or 30% on that last draw.
Now we ask, I love the way we do it at CrestCore, and it's a super, to me, it works really well. But, we ask for 60% up front.
Yep.
And then we don't ask for another dime until it's completed.
Yep. So it keeps us all, it's a bigger nut on the front end as far as the pay, but on the back end, it really holds us accountable to get that done, show completion pictures or videos, and get that 40% because we got a lot on the line, overhead and cash flow. So it definitely makes a difference. So
vetting your contractor, referrals, references, make sure you get all these things, business licenses, license to pull permits, those are big things that you want. I love the question you said for him is, when was your last mistake? And how did you react to it? I mean, to me, that is a huge, huge question to ask a contractor. And because you're going to get a good idea of that person and their core values right then. Because if they say, I'm not real sure, I don't have it, that's not the truth.
Yeah, and I think you got to figure out the kind of E-myth problem. Like, did a guy go from like being a carpenter to being a GC kind of type? And so there's a difference. Like, they can certainly do it, but are they hands-on? So where they're going to be honest with you, say, look, I'm in my middle of my job. Part of my money that I make is me actually doing some of the work, so I can only take one job. But you want to hear that kind of conversation.
I'd rather have that honesty and say, hey, this is what I'm doing in my business plan.
Versus I've got people and they roll up in a King Ranch truck.
Yep.
Decked out to the nines, and they, I always think about that Cool Hand Luke movie where the guy just sitting on the back of the truck with a gun, watching the crews work. That's kind of what I think about when I think some of these GCs, like, they're just out there, just hanging out. Do you want them to get dirty? Maybe, maybe not. That's something you are going to pay a premium if he's not in the middle of his jobs. I mean, so
Absolutely.
Understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if he is in the middle of his jobs, you understand you're going to give up some of that time. And the cost might be a little bit higher, depending. So,
so vetting your contractors, one, going with the cheapest.
Yep. That's labor and contractor. And materials. Mm-hmm. I think we see a ton of people that want to, they're just driving that cheap, as far as cheap as you can go, and I think that's, materials, thickness of flooring, type of paint. Are you using the thinnest, flat? What kind of materials are you using for the long term?
Something else to think about when they go with the cheapest is not even just materials, but are they factoring in everything that you're talking about? Have they checked everything that that you need to be rehabbed? I mean, is there something that they're leaving out that the next contractor did not leave out? If they did, that's concerning for a couple of reasons. They didn't recognize it. And two, you're going to get hit on the back end with something that needs to be fixed that they didn't catch. So going with the cheapest route to me reminds me of that. Quality is the first thing that pops up to people's minds, but also, too, make sure that the bids are matching. That this guy
apples to apples.
Apples to apples. That way you're bidding and looking at the same thing.
Yeah, I learned that in manufacturing, actually. I would take my original bid that I spent a ton of time with the person developing it, and I'd let them know I'm doing it, but I would take the bid, white out or black out all the pricing, and just hand it to the next contractor and just say, now we got apples to apples versus, you know, got another contractor that comes in, he just kind of bids on his own, he does his own walkthrough. You got to have really a good scope of work of what you want, you know, so they know. So
we're talking with Dan Butler this morning with CrestCore Realty. We are talking about this is part 2 of our lipstick on a pig, rehabbing a property lipstick on a pig to turnkey rentals. So we're going to take a real quick break. We're going to come back and dive even further into this top 5 rehab mistakes that investors typically make. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on AM 990 Memphis.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM weather.
Clearing, windy, and turning cooler. Temperatures starting in the 50s this morning will fall into the 40s this afternoon. Some gusting west and northwest winds for the early afternoon hours. Temperatures dip into the mid-30s by daybreak tomorrow, but under the sunshine, will warm to near 60 on Wednesday. Wholesale shutters and blinds for the best selection and latest styles of Roman and solar shades. Call 901-388-9004 or visit shutters.net. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
CBS Money Watch.
Mixed session on Wall Street Monday. The Dow fell 53 points while the Nasdaq rose 9 and the S&P 500 added 1. Another round of trade talks with China continues this week. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is headed to Beijing for a 2-day meeting. Negotiators have until the end of the month before a deadline expires on a tariff truce. The Food and Drug Administration wants to boost oversight and regulation of dietary supplements. Public health officials say some products contain unapproved ingredients. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
If you've ever had to compare insurance, you know it's time-consuming and complicated. At PolicyGenius.com, you can easily compare quotes from top insurers to find the best value for you. Policy Genius, the easy way to compare and buy life insurance online.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM traffic.
Good morning. It's no shortage of accidents out here this morning, that's for sure. They're working at wreck in DeSoto County, 55 northbound at Goodman Road. It's been really wild in the area with earlier wrecks on 240 west as you go northbound. There, 240 Midtown. Traffic just really busy. Continuing inbound on Bill Morris Parkway. We had those crazy potholes. When I say potholes, these things were craters on 40 eastbound near Chelsea. They're going to have to work on this throughout the day. Serving great Italian food since 1923, Coletta's Restaurant. Today for lunch or dinner tonight with one of their 2 locations. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. Got Dan Butler in the studio with me this morning. We are talking part 2 of our Rehabbing a Property, Lipstick on a Pig to Turnkey Rentals. We just got done talking about some of your top 5 mistakes. We're vetting your contractor and going with the cheapest. We're going to get back into that in just a second. But here I've got your investments of the week. It's free money every month. You just have to spend a little money to get it. So here we go. Grab your pens. Grab your recorders. You know, when I was a kid and a song came on the air that I wanted to hear, I would push record and play and pause. And then when the song came on that you wanted to hear, you just unclick the pause button real fast and you're recording. So I'm sure there's several 100,000 people out there doing that right now. So go ahead and unclick the pause button, because here we go. Greg, what's the matter about it?
It's a trip.
Let's start off with 38111. 38111, 991 Prescott. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Property is occupied at 625. I'm telling you this, it's $36,900. This is a brick home. It's a solid property in 38111. Not too far from the school. 3 bedroom, 1 bath. $36,900. It's occupied at 625. The address is 991 Prescott. Number 2. 2315 Pamela. 2315 Pamela, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, occupied at 650. Seller's asking $36,980. Could probably get you that $80 off if you wanted to. 2315 Pamela Drive, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath. This is in Fraser, 38127. It's another brick home, carport. $36,980, occupied at 650. That's a good house.
I got a lot on Pamela for sale if you want it.
Yeah, you
added
do.
to that package.
What you do, don't you? $2,000, right?
Something like that.
2890 Overton Crossing, nice street. Lots of people want this street at the right price. 3 bedroom, another 1.5 bath, brick home as well. $695 rent, and the list price is $39,900. So, 28. I'll repeat that last one so I don't breeze through it. 2890 Overton Crossing, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath. Occupied at $695. Zip code is 38127, and the price is $39,900. So for 40, 76, 112,000, you're at that's 14. I mean, you're pushing $2,050 in rent, $2,000 even in rent. So that's not bad at all. Good 3-house package here. You guys call me if you have any questions, or email me really, Dean@CrestCore.com. You can also go to the website, www.CrestCoreRealty.com. You can see all of our active listings and the investments of the week. All right, Dan, let's get back into top 5 rehab mistakes that people make. Before we left, we talked about vetting your contractor, going with the cheapest bid and rehab manager and contractor that you get. Number 3, paying for the rehab up front. I can't imagine anyone would legitimately do this, but I guess we need to remind everybody not to pay your contractor the full amount up front.
Correct.
Because it isn't gonna end well. There's no way in my mind, if you give a guy 100% of the money that the job costs, that he could very well do the job.
Yeah.
But I am willing to bet you the cost of that rehab, that at the very end of it, you're going to be left going, I still didn't get this, and this done, which I thought I was supposed to.
You know, I think when we see, you know, in this instance, you probably see this more with the pseudo turnkey guys. Mm-hmm. That, you know, they're wanting the money up front, they're going to close it, and then rehab it for you and all that stuff. And then
please do not do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
And there's a guy, matter of fact, I'll say this, and I won't give his name, but there is somebody in Memphis doing that.
Oh, for sure.
There is somebody here in Memphis that are taking your money up front. They're going to buy the home, promise to deliver it turnkey, and will not deliver it in a turnkey fashion.
And to me, that's not turnkey. You know, like turnkey is like it's ready to go day one as soon as you close. That's what the part of the I guess the attraction is, like you close and you start making cash flow.
Yep.
You know, that is not turnkey. And so if you got, you know, a pseudo turnkey person, or, you know, a contractor that's want 100% up front, or, you know, almost all the money, or they want, you know, draws, but you really want them. I would recommend no more than, a third, 50%, up front. Just depends. Because of our reputation of what we do and stand by, we changed ours just to make it simpler. But most people you see is third, a third, a third, or a third, 20%, 10%, or
that'd be the minimum I would go on would be the thirds.
Yeah.
If some guy asked me for half of it up front, I might go, if it was reputable, I'd probably go ahead and go with it. But I'd stagger the last two at 25-25.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he just said, hey, don't worry about it, you can give me the other 50 when I'm finished, then that's fine. But I definitely, please, I'm begging you, do not hand a rehab guy.
I mean, it just happened to me yesterday. Guy wanted, his next third on the job that I'm working on at, a personal house. And I'm like, man, I usually pay right after you finish that third, like I'm not used to being up front, but he's wanting all the, money for the materials and, so you got to really be careful and watch yourself, I mean, you get sucked into it every day.
Every single day.
You get an emotional roller coaster of somebody just saying, well, you want it done, right? You want to get done next week, this week, then I need the money so I can get that rolling, got a lot of jobs out. I mean, there are all kinds of stories that are going to come up with this. Just do a lot of research, kind of understand your area, but if you vet your contractor, this shouldn't happen.
It should not.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to limit yourself if you really vet. I think people get that shiny object kind of hear about Memphis or wherever market you're investing in, Jackson.
Everything's going to go wrong.
Everything's going to go awesome. They're going to sell you a story.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, for us, this separates us that we're trying to do. It's like just be real and be honest and like you're going to have issues, you're going to have concerns, you're going to have delays. Yes, this is what we try for. Yeah. But just try to set those expectations that are not, I learned that in manufacturing. I call it sand. You're building in sand. So,
right.
Like if the mechanic told me 1 hour, I'd tell my boss 2 hours, and he would tell his boss 4 hours. Like, right. So when you finished it in 2, you looked great.
You look great.
Versus just telling everybody you're gonna finish it in 30 minutes just because you're trying to make them happy, and then you
under promise, over deliver.
Yep. So
paying too much for the house, which drives up 1 and 2. That could go back to our show of buying right.
Buying right. I mean, if you don't buy it right, you're going to start cutting the corners. Is my point. You know what I mean? If you don't buy it right on the front end, then what are you going to start cutting back? Oh man, just leave that carpet this time, and don't replace those cabinets. I was going to, but I pay a little too much for this house, and where that leads is just a downward spiral of just tenant issues.
Yep.
Marketability of the house.
Yep.
Work orders out the wazoo, as we've joked about your house on Battlefield for years.
Yeah.
You're just gonna set yourself up. So.
Yeah. Number 5 is not utilizing official inspections or assuming your contractor is also an inspector. I'm gonna tell you this.
It's big.
It's huge, and I have worked with several investors that are flippers as well. They're wholesalers. Spencer's one that I work with frequently, and I tell him, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But I tell every guy that I work with that's flipping a house or is rehabbing a home, hire a licensed inspector, especially if you're flipping it to retail. The buyer's going to come in, and that's the first thing after they get under contract they're going to schedule with you is a licensed home inspector.
Right.
For you to go ahead and spend $200, and you might not want him to inspect every single thing, but I know there's some inspectors out there that for $150, $200 will come by and inspect and check all the major mechanicals, the roof, plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing that can help you head off any kind of issue. You can use the same process if you're hiring a contractor. If he comes in and does a big job, even in your own home, don't assume that contractor is an inspector. Don't assume that he's going to come in and just tell you everything. Get a guy to come back in there for a couple $100 and just and verify and take a look at all the work that contractor has done for you, because the inspector doesn't, he doesn't have a
skin in the
game.
He's
neutral. He doesn't care. He's trying to. You hired him. He's trying to make you happy. So, never assume your contractor is an inspector.
I think, and I've kind of changed. This is something that's changed for me over the years because, for me personally, I had to change my discussion with investors, because me personally, when I buy, I don't get inspections. I just kind of build in a variable that I know you're going to have $1,000 worth of work that's just going to pop up that you've got to do.
Yep.
Most guys and girls don't understand that, especially newbies. So I've really kind of pushed more to like get your inspection. I'd actually want that first, and let our rehab guys take that and be part of their rehab scope. You know what I'm saying?
To
like
finish it.
Because contractors, that's what, just make sure we're clear on the issue here, is like they don't take fluke meters and check your meter box or your, breaker box. They don't, they're not, checking all the toilet valves. They're doing some of that, but not to the degree that an inspector has a detailed checklist, got tools to check it.
Yep.
He's crawling in your crawl space, for goodness sakes. Put on a white suit with a flashlight and checking your joist, and he's going to see sewer lines that are, messed up underneath the house, or water lines that aren't connected, or whatever that is, that you're not going to see as a contractor's not going to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, they're not. That's why you hire these guys to come in and do that.
So that's probably the biggest thing I see with specific. We're again, this is all related to investment property, not for retail.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one thing I think you and I've learned. Like, man, just go ahead and spend the $200 on the inspection and just get it, just that peace of mind, and know, if you got a flashing issue on the roof, they're going to jump up and check, all that kind of stuff on the chimney.
All your electrical and plumbing.
All
and
electrical,
everything.
plumbing,
Yeah.
HVAC. They're going to give you the details of that system, and
because your contractor's just going to say, "Hey, I'm done. I'm finished.
Right.
It's going to work. It's fine." He'll flush the commode or flip on some switches, and everything must be fine. Right. I would always encourage you to get that licensed inspector to come back in afterwards, or maybe even while he's almost finished. Before the job's completely done, and you give him that last draw. Maybe have that inspector come in.
I was laughing. My parents just sold their townhouse back in South Carolina, but their inspector that for the buyer came and ran the dishwasher for 2 hours.
I've heard of turning on the dishwasher, but I didn't know that they would let.
They wanted to cycle it. Like, I think it was like 2 cycles. They wanted to see a full.
Oh man.
So there's the difference.
That's thorough.
Whereas the contractor's going to push the button and say, "Yeah, it turns on."
Sounds good.
You know what I mean? Like that's
that is the difference.
That's
what I'm trying to tell people to beware of. Is it's $200 in the grand scheme of things. Now, if it's a $300 job, why do it? But if you got a big project at your house that you spent several $1,000s on, what is $200 to make sure and verify that all the work has been done properly?
And a lot of this feeds into the emotional side of doing all this.
Yep.
Meaning, at the grand scheme of things, if you kind of know, Rico's doing that flip, and I told him on the front end, I was like, man, we did a bid, but you're going to find $2,000 worth of work
that you don't want to do.
Or you see that you think makes sense. And so we toured it last Friday. He goes, man, I need those light fixtures. They stand out now that everything's fresh and new. He's like, we need to get a quote on that, or hey, that chimney and that fireplace, we got the nice gray and white paint, and it's like from the 70s, that dark
brass.
Brass type,
Yeah.
So you just, he's like, you're right. You got to spend a couple $1,000 on the back end. So, as long as you kind of, it's all, a lot of this is mentality.
That's right.
So.
We're going to take another quick break. We're going to come back and talk about our turnkey alternative program. I'm talking with Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty today, and this is part 2 of rehabbing a property, lipstick on a pig to turnkey rentals. You guys are listening to 107.9 The Voice.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM weather.
Clearing, windy, and turning cooler. Temperatures starting in the 50s this morning will fall into the 40s this afternoon. Some gusting west and northwest winds for the early afternoon hours. Temperatures dip into the mid-30s by daybreak tomorrow, but under the sunshine, will warm to near 60 on Wednesday. Wholesale shutters and blinds for the best selection and latest styles of Roman and solar shades. Call 901-388-9004 or visit shutters.net. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM traffic.
Well, good morning. Traffic still very heavy on 55. Right now, northbound up by Goodwin Road from that earlier right there in DeSoto County. Again, it's starting to move a little bit better. They're out here repairing those huge potholes / craters this morning on 40 eastbound near Chelsea. They're going to be out here for a while. Still very heavy traffic there inbound on Bill Morris Parkway. It's just been crazy this morning in traffic. Serving great Italian food since 1923. Coletta's Restaurant today for lunch or dinner at one of their 2 locations. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. What Commander Chuck was on it, wasn't he? He was in that traffic. Welcome back to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. We are talking today. I've got Dan Butler in the studio with CrestCore Realty, and we are talking about rehabbing a property, lipstick on a pig, to turnkey rentals. So we're going to jump into the turnkey alternative, which kind of goes into rehabbing a property and what all might go into that here in our last segment. We at CrestCore have kind of retitled and renamed the BRRRR strategy essentially from Bigger Pockets. We love biggerpockets.com. It's a great investor website that you can listen to podcasts and different things like that. As a matter of fact, I think their podcast list is like the best thing you can listen to in the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Is just a shade,
just
under
right
that.
underneath,
just a nudge under there. So, no, Bigger Pockets is a great source for podcast and other investors in the country that are like-minded. You can definitely find some other folks. So the BRRRR strategy there is BRRRR, the letter B and 4 R's: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Is what that stands for. So our turnkey alternative program at CrestCore is essentially the same thing. Let's talk a little bit about that, Dan. We do not. So that process goes like this. We just told you not to prepay for all of this stuff. So what we have you do is we locate the property for the investor.
On the buy side.
On the buy side, we represent the buyer. We find the property. We represent the buyer. And then we evaluate the home during our inspection contingency period. We go ahead and lock the property up under contract. We've got 10 days to inspect the property. We send out our rehab management team. They'll give us a scope on the work that needs to be done. We factor that in along with an ARV and find out if it's going to make sense. So let's just say in this scenario it does. We go and move to close a couple of days before closing. We'll get that 60% of that rehab bid from you. That way, the day that we close, the very next day, we can go ahead and start that rehab job. There's no days that it's sitting there. At that point, we go through the rehab. We manage the rehab for you. Once we're completed, we'll take pictures and videos and all that sort of thing for you. Get that over to you. Get it occupied with a tenant. Then at that point, you can go to your bank. We've got local banker partners that we use here in town and refinance that property. And typically, this is the only part of this that I'm not in full control of. right? I can't tell you exactly what the appraiser is going to come in and appraise the property for. I can give you sold comparables in the neighborhood that we're buying it in and give you a general idea. But the only thing I can't just guarantee and put my stamp on is what the appraiser is going to value the property at. But we can get really close. So if I've had a situation that didn't work out exactly right, I think they came in at, I think it was 85%. So they left a little cash in the property, but not a ton, and they could continue to still do that. So let's talk a little bit about buying it. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to tell you one thing that kind of stuck out to me this weekend was, with the way the markets, if you're looking for a different strategy to kind of go along with this, is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, hold it, and sell it in 2 years. Yeah. So I don't know how that BRRRR strategy would BRRRR, HS, but
hold.
But the capital gain, BRRRR. Brahas.
Yeah.
Burrs. Yeah. Can't even say it. But just looking at a different strategy, and Doug's and I've talked about that for years. I think we're kind of getting to that place where we can do this, but where you just build inventory and know that if you're going to buy 10 houses that, and then do that for several years, every 2 years you're going to be selling several to just create cash flow.
Right.
Based on investors are always wanting a deal.
Yep.
You've paid it down for 2 years. It's now worth more because housing continues to go up. I think the only question there then is is it retail or is it wholesale, or investor?
Yeah.
But
wholesale.
Anyway, kind of dovetail for a second, but I just thought I'd bring that up. That's something that people are really talking about right now. Is that a new strategy?
I think anything at this point, if it's zigging when people are zagging, is a good thing. Makes some sense. So,
what do you consider when starting with the buy? What cost are you trying to build in for the investor?
When when
you're trying to help them buy, what are you considering to make that offer? I had that question yesterday. How do you know what to offer?
Well, so I get a price from a wholesaler for one. We got to start with there because that's the offering price.
Yeah.
The next biggest factor is, because here's what I tell investors: let's get it under contract. Let's just get it under contract. If I get a house, I'll give you an example. Let's say we're over in Whitehaven, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet. Those can sell for $95,000, all fixed up and done with a tenant for paying $1,000 in rent, maybe a little less, $900. We would need. I would assume it's going to need. If I'm getting it from a wholesaler, it's probably going to need $25,000 in work. It's just kind of a rule of thumb way I look at it. So in that situation, if he's offering it to us at 40, you need to back it back down. Okay, well, if I pay 30 or 32, 33, I got 25 in rehab. There's 57. I've got to pay, CrestCore some real estate commission that's on this because there is no real estate commission that's offered in these. Wholesalers don't offer it. And then I've got my own closing costs that factors in, which would be about $1,000. So in that scenario, you're 30 plus the buy, you're probably around $60,000, all in at this point. If it does appraise for 90 and 95, you're in the clear. Refinance, refinance the property, get your $60,000 back out, and turn around and do it again. So some of the things that we factor in are those: the cost of the home, the price from the wholesaler or from the seller, the rehab amount that comes in. You got to factor in your closing cost to close the loan. You're going to have a little real estate commission on this end. But in a whole, you're $60,000 all in on a $950 rental. And if you go straight to a turnkey provider, I don't care who it is in town, that's an $85,000 to a $95,000 purchase price. So you're essentially purchasing the equity in the home. Whereas if you run through the turnkey alternative process, we're giving you that equity. Now, you're more involved. So it is two separate things. You buy a turnkey property, like you mentioned earlier in the show, you come in and you close, and it's got a tenant, and everything's brand new roof, new HVAC, water heater, all the fun stuff. It's all brand new, and you move in. You're going to get about a 6% return, 7% return, whatever it may be. And if that's okay with you, then maybe that product is right for you. Super passive, you don't want to be involved really at all in the whole process. You're just literally looking for real property to turn around on an investment. The turnkey alternative program is a little bit more involved. We're going to update you throughout this process. You buy the home, you finance, you furnish us with the money for the rehab, and then we get that property turned around, rehab for you, and get it tenant occupied. So our process is probably 2 months to do from beginning to the end, whereas you go buy a turnkey property and it's there and you can close, and the next month you're collecting a rent check. So there's two different ways to look at it.
Yeah, and I'd say just for us philosophy wise, like to understand the why, several things. I've always known, and including myself in this, because of most investors, they have strong personalities, right?
Yes.
So they want choices.
Yes.
And so to me, Turnkey Alternative offers choices. I'm not just telling you this is what you have to do. This is what it is. Like, and then it turns into a dialogue versus
it turns into a sell.
Yeah. So
that's what it turns into.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, if you've only got one product to give somebody, you're selling it to them.
Right.
You have to convince them that this is the right way to do it.
Oh, the one you're selling on turnkey. That's right. Versus
that's what
dialogue.
I mean.
I'm sorry. I thought
I'm sorry. Yeah. If you have that one product, you're selling them on it.
Right.
You've got to, because there are other options. Whereas when you come to us, that is a little bit different. I can give you this turnkey alternative. You can, there's several different ways you can buy.
And I loved, even this weekend, we worked through that one with the investor, got our opinion, and we zigged a little bit on the initial rehab and said, let's make all hard surfaces, and he paid for the plumbing upgrade. We're going to replace all the faucets, supply lines, snake drains.
Yep.
That's going to come with a little warranty on it. So you kind of got a mid-range of a turnkey. So, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But the other piece, from a philosophy standpoint, is, we want our investors to be able to sell if they need to. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think turnkey alternative or BRRRR strategy makes that difference. Mm-hmm. Not to say you can't sell a turnkey, but it is it's tougher because you're selling it at the top of the market, and so you've got to be able to find that next buyer. Because the turnkey guy's not going to want to sell the house he sold you. Say 6 months or a year later, you want to get out. Mm-hmm. That can't. It's hard for that to happen because you hadn't paid it down enough. Because you're
top of the market or over.
Top of the market, 30-year note. You're just now. You're not even paying much principal yet. So, you to get your money out, it's going to be tough. And so that's when we started this business, we family and friends and peers, and I wanted to be able to go to Christmas dinner and not have my cousin mad because I oversold him a house. And
it's very true.
That's kind of and then that's just, and to be honest with you, that's how we built our business. Our rental portfolio was just the BRRRR strategy. So kind of fits what we believe in and what we've done since 2001. And that's, I thought it was important for people to hear why we.
It's a great way to buy. It's a different way. We're walking you through the steps that turnkey providers walk you through, right? I mean, we're going through their steps. We're just leaving the equity with you.
Right.
I feel like that is, to me, if you're wanting that product that is brand new, essentially brand new, in quotation marks, you're brand new at the end, to me, this is the right way to do it. Go through and buy it cheap. Let us guide you through this process. You fix it. You determine what you want to do to it, and then have that property approach.
And I think that's, again, from a philosophical difference, I think with the BRRRR strategy, turnkey alternative strategy, we want our investors to have 10-plus houses. We've talked about that for almost every radio show. I mean, we don't want people just to have one or two houses. Those are our hardest clients. We want them to, 100 if they can.
Yeah.
But 10-plus to have that volume, to have that synergy, to have, so just a better investment strategy.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, it was a great
Appreciate
show.
it.
Thanks.
Guys, we just wrapped up part 2, Rehabbing a Property, Lipstick on a Pig. Go to the show's Facebook page afterwards, The Memphis Real Estate Hour. I'm going to post it on there, and you can take a look and listen. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday on the Memphis Real Estate Hour. We'll see you then.